Yeah. So my follow-up question is, with everything that's going on right now, there's a lot of belief, I think, from a lot of different people in the market who believe that multifamily is going to take a hit, that there are going to be people who are working from home, let's say working from their apartment with their kids, and it's a little difficult right now, and that perhaps this will become the new norm, that they'll be looking for single family rentals or real estate rentals, or something like that. I'd like to get your guys' idea on those two questions. What do you all see happening with multifamily, and then what do you see with the rentals on single family? And I'm going to switch it back and go to Mike, if you could touch on that one first for us.
Sure. I'm going to start with my crystal ball broke and I can't find another one for sale. Right? Who knows? And you're talking about behavior changes. People who occupied multifamily apartment now suddenly wanting to buy a house, whether it's a mobile home or a manufactured home or standard
or even rent it,
or rent it, right? So there is that possibility now. There's less comfort being in an apartment with kids, right? And that's the truth. It is possible, certainly, that there will be some increase in demand for rental or acquisitions of the single family properties for that reason. But it'll come down to incomes, right? If people can afford an apartment, there's a reason they were in an apartment in the first place. They couldn't afford the house, or they didn't want the house. So I would say that there's a possibility that there's going to be some shift to that, but it's unknown. It's really a function of unemployment, jobs, and if they can't afford a house, they're going to stay in their apartment. That's the bottom line. And with recession, the demand for the least expensive product is going to increase, while the demand for housing could decrease, because if they can't afford a house and they can afford an apartment, by the same token, you can move into the apartment from the house. So it's unknown. It's hard for me to speculate.
Okay. Jacob, what are your thoughts?
Well, people are going to have less money in their pockets. We know that much. We have a relatively small residential portfolio. So far, everybody's paying. We had one tenant ask for $500 off and catch us next month. But this is the very beginning. So I have no idea. I think it's going to beat up kind of B-, C+ multifamily workforce housing. I think we're going to see a delinquency spike there. But this whole thing is just day by day. But the theme we're concerned about across all of our lines of business, whether it's retail, storage, or residential, is the American consumer's ability to pay. That is going down by the day, and it's going to get worse before it gets better. So we're monitoring that carefully.
Great. Thank you. Glenn, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, a couple thoughts on this. It's funny. I got a phone call from a good friend yesterday, and he said, "Man, you're going to be in the catbird seat." I said, "Why?" He said, "Well, people, multifamily," he goes, "I think it's really going to get hurt because of the coronavirus. People don't want to be around other people." And I never really thought of that, to be honest with you. But I don't know. I mean, it's just, I think it all boils down to income, right? If people, they got to eat and have a place to live. So if all they can afford is an apartment, they're going to do it. I do believe, and that's kind of why I did the model I'm doing, that single family, in my case, double wide mobile homes on land are going to, they're the most affordable house. So I think we're going to be good long-term there. It's, if people got to have a place to live, but I think apartments could, once again, depending how bad this thing is and where incomes go, it could go either way. I'm not sure either.
Great. All right. Fuquan.
Yeah, I believe it's going to be something short-term. You're going to see a dip, vacancies. It's probably going to be a snowball of eviction once the court open back up, and all the people who played the system, it's going to be a dip, and I believe it's still going to be strong. I mean, it was a very, very high demand for that product before the Black Swan event took place. The next 90 days, like Glenn said, we're going to see the men from the mice, as they say, who can weather the storm and survive this. But that's a very hot product. Pricing is going to dip for sure, but I believe it will come back. 2021, we'll probably see, some new things happen with that. People always need a place to live. Like Glenn said, shelter is definitely one of the main things, and is whatever you can afford, whether it's a C+ or a B class apartment, it's going to be, your affordability.
Yep. Absolutely. All right, Chris, what are your thoughts?
Like the financial reasons they said, it definitely, cash is going to be liquidated pretty fast. People are going to be in a crunch. But I think this is going to be more of a psychological trend that we might look forward to, right?
Yeah.
For example, like I mean, it'll be psychological both from the individual and from a corporation standpoint. Because from the individual standpoint, are they thinking, hey, do I need more space? This whole social distancing, if this gets really dragged out a long time and this creates a lot of pain, if this really gets bad on the virus side, people might say, I might want to distance myself a little bit more from people. Also from a company aspect, I know there's a lot of companies, even tech companies, are realizing, wait, we can send people home, just even give them our office furniture to be a temporary lease. We can let them work from home. We can shrink our office space, shrink our overhead, and that makes it easier to work remotely. And if people can work remotely, it does change the aspect where many people do live in a lot of multifamilies, especially when it's closer to the city. They do that because they don't have to commute so much. But if they don't have to commute at all, it kind of opens up the possibilities of where they can live. So I think it just really depends. I think if there's a long-term effect from this virus, I could really see more of a gradual transition, but I don't think it's going to be either or. I think there's still going to be a use for multifamily. There's still going to be a use for single family, but I think it's not too uncommon to see people start to spread out, maybe even go towards the interior of the country if they can. You
don't see a manifest destiny going. Yeah, let's all sprawl out now.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I'm going to give you my take on all this, if you don't mind.
Bill, it's your show.
Thank you. So I'm looking at this like you're looking at the weather, and you can kind of compare it to a balloon. You're going to squeeze on one end of the balloon, and it's going to expand on the other end of the balloon. So where you have probably B minus, C plus class property, blue collar workers, where you're going to have a temporary spike in delinquencies because they're going to be in a transition, but they'll be able to find work. Where they're losing perhaps jobs in some of the service sectors that are being hurt right now, there's other service sectors that are exploding. Yeah. And they need to hire people.
Logistics, yeah.
So that part, I believe, is going to be temporary. What I think is going to happen is that you're going to see savings rates going up because people are going to be in the hoarding cash mode versus spending everything they have. So I think what you're going to see in the Class A type properties is if you have savings rates going up, consumers are going to be spending a little bit less. That means corporate earnings are going to be a little bit lower. And you're going to have people, I think, moving from Class A type properties to more of a Class B plus to B. Just why do I need to spend this extra money just because it's prettier?
So you're saying like a trickle up fiscal responsibility starting with the individual.
Not only that, in a lot of markets, they've really oversaturated the A class properties. So
that's true.
I think that might be an issue where the values of those start to come down a little bit, and the delinquencies, or not the delinquencies, but vacancies go up in those type properties.
Yeah, they may not be the first hit, but I think that might be the longest lasting hit. Yeah.
Right. And then, Chris talking about people being able to move out into other areas, you're going to see a big spend in infrastructure to get really good high-speed internet out into the more rural areas. That's going to be the 5G with the wireless is going to be a big help in there, but you're going to have a lot of people moving. There's going to be a lot of jobs created just to get that infrastructure up and running. Yeah. At the same time, those people that don't have to have the, walk to work, walk to the pub, walk to shopping, those people are going to start moving out a little bit and spreading out the country, which is good because it will help with our congestion in these congested areas.
Awesome.
Okay, so let's talk about the Paycheck Protection Act, the CARES Act. We did get a little more clarity last night in the Freedom Founders Town Hall meeting. I want to let everyone know that's listening about this that don't quite understand it, but essentially you're able to get 8 weeks worth of your average payroll to bring your employees back, to rehire them, and then all of that is forgivable as long as you're using it for certain things. And we won't get into those details.